Hello, hello, hello. Happy Saturday. Can you believe that it's the end of May? The final day in May. I can't believe it. Totally can't believe it. And next month is June, kicking off our summer reading series. But today we have. Hello, Nikki. How are you? So this is our May Spine of the Month book chat. We're talking about Stone Angels, Helena Rho, and I am super excited to have her here. And tomorrow is June 1st, and we're kicking off our summer reading series. I posted about that. Hi, Jill. Hello, come on in. We're waiting for Helena. Can you guys believe that it is the final day in May? Like, where has the time gone? I can't believe it. But I'm super excited about our summer reading series. It's going to be fantastic. We're kicking off with Zeal starting tomorrow. All the books can be found in our bookshop if you don't have them. And I'll be sharing the author chat dates soon. So welcome. Let me see if Helena's here. Give me a second. I would like to know, while we're waiting on our guest of honor, what you guys are reading. So if you can drop it in the chat, that would be nice to know. There's Helena. Let me see if I can share and add her. See if it'll come up. I think we're accepting it. Thank you guys for being here on a Saturday. Hopefully we'll get through this. We had some really bad weather, so everything is sketchy right now. My signal. Let's see if Instagram. I've accepted it a couple of times. Huh. It's not letting me. Okay, Helena, let's try that way. I sent you an invite. Let's see. Somewhere beyond the sea. Oh, yes, that's a good one. Hello, welcome. So, Helena, it says you're unable to join. Let's try. I'm going to send you an invite. Let's see. And hopefully you're on your phone and there.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Having challenges on getting on because I've never done a live stream before.
You have not?
No, I've never done a live stream. This is my first live stream. Kind of fun.
I feel very honored that this is your first Instagram Live.
Yes. Thank you so much for hosting me.
Thank you. This is so awesome. Well, I was telling everyone in the audience that we've had some really bad storms, so I'm hoping that the power stays on and that the internet stays functioning because everything's been pretty sketchy. So, oh wow, I can't believe it's your first IG Live. Well, let me tell you, at Diverse Finds, we host monthly talks with women of color and Black women. That's our focus for the last, I think, 7 years, 8 years, 7 years.
Yes.
So so thank you for being on. I'm Jamise Harper, you guys. For those of you who are new, I'm over at Spines and Vines as well. But this month is our May Spine of the Month book chat with Helena. Helena, is it Rho?
Rho, yeah.
Rho, okay.
You pronounced it right.
Okay, make sure it's Rho. And we're talking about Stone Angels. First of all, the cover is absolutely stunning.
Thank you.
And this is you did a debut memoir, but this is your first historical fiction novel.
Yes, this is my first novel.
Wow. Well, you knocked it out the park with this one.
Oh, thanks.
Yes. I mean, I learned a lot. So I tell everyone this all the time. Every time there's historical fiction, it's my favorite genre. I'm always learning something new. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the reasons why I love it so much. And this book was very informative and just emotional.
Yes.
Emotional. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and then we'll jump right into the questions?
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for hosting me on Diverse Minds. I really enjoyed your talk about Happy Land with my
Dolan.
God,
Yes.
Dolan. Sorry, I am actually in my head. I'm totally freaking out. Like, oh my God, I'm on Instagram Live. Oh my, oh my God, that's all that's spinning around in my head right now. So sorry for if
No
I'm my
worries. It's
accented
the first
stuff.
time, the first time yours. I can't believe it's your first time. So we're gonna make you feel nice and welcome. It's always a good time, a very relaxing conversation. Um, that's
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So thank you. I'm going to drink my green tea,
good.
Korean green tea, which I write about a lot in Stone Angels.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
I think I'm just going to, well, I am a writer.
Hmm.
Uh, this is my debut novel. I love writing fiction, I discovered. I live in the Hudson Valley in a tiny container house in the woods,
Oh,
which sounds much more romantic than it is in
it sounds
reality.
very cozy.
Yeah, being invaded by mice and ants.
Well,
Yeah.
no, not that part.
Yeah. Carpenter bees. I've never heard of carpenter bees until I moved up here. I was like, what are carpenter bees? Yeah. They are like carpenter ants. They eat the wood. Anyway,
Wow.
crazy. I know.
Okay. Learn something new again. So is
Yeah.
it true that you were a pediatrician?
Yes, in another life, I practiced pediatrics.
Okay.
Actually, at top 10 children's hospitals. I trained at St. Christopher's Hospital for children in Philadelphia. And then I did what everybody does after they finish their residency at St. Chris. I went to work for CHOP, which is the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. And
Okay.
then I went to work for Johns Hopkins, and then I
Right up the
retired.
road from me.
Yes.
Okay.
Although I have a problem with Hopkins. Hopkins is kind of a problematic institution
That's,
in Baltimore. So
that's a
I'm going
whole
to leave it.
different. That's, yeah, for sure. So what made you make the shift from pediatrics and being a writer? Because let me tell you, I've looked up the your memoir, and it was like received a lot of praise.
Oh, thank you.
And
Yeah,
so yeah,
actually,
talk about that.
it was a car accident.
Oh.
It was a car. I was in a bad car accident as I was approaching 40,
Hmm.
and I'd never wanted to be a doctor. I call myself the idiot who listened because I was one of four girls, and my father was a surgeon, and somebody had to be the
Yes.
doctor in the family. And I was the idiot who listened. All
Yeah.
of my sisters went on with their lives. I went to medical school. I didn't want to do it. I was such a good daughter, I
You
think.
know what? I went to a talk with Connie Chung, and she said the exact same thing, that she was a good daughter, that she
Yeah,
followed the rules, and her sisters around her, they kind of did their own thing, but she was the one that did what her parents wanted. She was the good girl.
yeah, the good daughter, and I very much regret that now, which is why I went my own path. And honestly, until I was literally crashed out of this life that I was supposed to live, um, I was just following what any model minority is supposed to do. Yeah. And it was the car crash, which had a huge damage to my body, but kind of gave me the freedom to do what I wanted.
Yeah. So after like reading Stone Angels, I was like, I want to go back and read your memoir.
Oh, thank you
Yeah,
so
yeah,
much.
for sure. American Soul, and it's spelled like Seoul,
Yes.
Korea. So yes. Let's talk about what inspired you. Like, you shared your personal journey, but what inspired you to shift from nonfiction to fiction? You said you always wanted to write fiction, but what was the inspiration behind Stone Angels?
Well, I was in 2006, I had already abandoned medicine and I was in an MFA program to be a writer. And I had won a scholarship. I was awarded a scholarship. I shouldn't say won.
Hmm.
I was awarded a scholarship to study Korean language at Konkuk University, just like Angelina Lee in
Hmm.
Stone Angels.
Yes.
And that was when I first heard about the victims of sexual slavery by Japan during the Asia Pacific War, which was 1931 to 1945, much longer than World War II in the West.
Hmm.
So I was, I mean, shocked that institutionalized sex trafficking by a government had been perpetrated on hundreds of thousands of girls. And these were mostly teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
There is a documented Indonesian victim who was 9. There's a documented Korean victim who was 10. They're called comfort women, which is a misnomer,
Mm-hmm.
but they were girls. And honestly, by a lot of Chinese, Korean scholars that I spoke to, and historians, and I spoke to so many for the research of this novel.
Mm-hmm.
It's hundreds of thousands, almost a million. They think it's probably over a million, but there's no way to know for sure, because so much of this historical, the history was erased.
Yes, and that's what I was going to ask about. What did
Mhm.
you, because it's very well researched. So, what was their research process like? And then I would think that uncovering this information weighed a lot on you while writing this book.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, for any writers out there who are thinking about writing about violence against women,
Mm-hmm.
really think about it. I mean, I think it's really it's important work, but I took, oh my God, years of research, and it took me just 1 year to read this harrowing narrative, well, 12 harrowing narratives of these girls, just the Korean
Mm-hmm.
victims. There were 12 of them that was compiled in this book called Helena, which in Korean, that's Korean, and it translates to "Can you hear us?" And it's a very appropriate title because I think, 80 plus years after the war, these victims still have not been heard.
Mm-hmm.
I was given this book in 2015. Now, in 2006, I first heard about them. And, being an MFA candidate in nonfiction at the time, I thought, oh, I'll eventually write this long form narrative piece about them. But I didn't do any more research. I got caught up in life, raising
Mm-hmm.
children, trying to write, finish my thesis actually for my nonfiction MFA. And I was actually going through a pretty ugly divorce with an even uglier husband, I like to say, when I was given this book. And I thought, wow, I need to write a novel about this,
Yeah.
because I think it's only through fiction that I can imagine the life of a single victim, her family, her friends, her community, all destroyed by the systematic sex trafficking by a government.
Yes.
I went into fiction, which I thought I would never write a novel.
Yeah, and so it's like you got this. You found out about everything that was going on, and then you decided you wanted to write this fiction story. And so
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about your main character. We're not going to give away any spoilers because we want
Yeah.
people to purchase the book and continue to read. So we no spoilers. But I
Mm-hmm.
want to talk about Angelina Lee.
Yes.
I want you to tell us a little bit about her. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it's interesting when I'm reading historical fiction. There's all this thing between mothers and daughters, and also there's always hidden stories. And so,
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit about Angelina Lee and what takes her back?
Yes. Thank you, Jamise, for your patience, because I'm all over the place, I realize, with my answer. So thank you
Oh no, you're fine. You're
for
fine.
redirecting me.
No, you're fine. You're
I'm like,
answering the question. I mean, you're giving us the backdrop. You're telling us how you found the story. It's
yes.
you're doing exactly what you're doing. Fine.
Thank you. Thank you. Because, still in my head is, oh my God, oh my
Don't
God.
worry. You're doing fine.
Yes, Angelina Lee. So when I decided I was going to write about the victims of sexual slavery, I started with Sanya's point of view. She is the victim
Mhm.
of sexual violence. That is one of the 3 points of view in the novel. But then I realized I can't stay in darkness that
Yeah.
long. I just, so I thought, okay, how can I make this a novel that I think people will stay with and will enjoy? And so I decided to make it a multi-generational novel.
Yeah.
And then, it went back to a character that I know something about, a Korean American who is trying to grapple with identity and diaspora and immigration. And
Yeah.
and what that means. And so I gave Angelina Lee the superficial details of my life because,
I was going to
as I,
ask you that.
yeah,
That was, yes, that was one of my questions.
I'm a lazy writer, Jamise. I just, I
So
took the
you took some of the
superficial
details
details.
from your superficial details from
Yes,
your life to craft Angelina.
yes,
Okay.
like the unstable
Hmm.
mother who dies by suicide, which I'm not giving anything away because that's in
Yes.
chapter one. The ugly ex-husband in a divorce, two
You already
unhappy
said that earlier.
children.
Yes.
You know, those kinds of superficial details. But spoiler alert, nothing that happens in the summer of 2006, which is when Angelina's story takes
Yes.
place, did not happen
Okay.
to me. I do not have an aunt who was a victim of sexual slavery. I did not have the romance
Hmm.
with the two men that Angelina has. So, yes, I just took the superficial details, but then I did what I don't know, never thought I could do, which is imagine this kind of story and a journey for Angelina
Yeah.
and the mother and daughter story. So I
Yes.
kind of based Angelina on Anne Elliot from
Hmm.
Persuasion by Jane Austen because that's my favorite Jane
Okay.
Austen novel. I, I read Jane Austen every decade of my life, and I've been doing it since I was 20.
Oh,
I love her.
awesome. And so let's talk about she discovers like you said, she's struggling with identity and trying to find her way. And so she discovers that her mother has an older sister
Yes. Mm-hmm.
who disappeared under Japanese occupation during the Korean War, World War II, in Korea during World War II. But
Yes.
it was buried for 60 years. It was a secret. Her family, no one ever. So let's talk about her and the
Yes.
family burying the secret.
Yes. I think Sanya's story.
Oh, you went out.
Uh,
There we go. We got you
am I
back.
back?
We got you
Okay.
back.
You're
Yeah.
right. I mean, seriously, being a writer in the woods, I can't
Yeah.
even get decent cell service.
I mean, you.
Anyway, okay. Hopefully this will keep going. But yes, I mean, I think Sanya's story was the most difficult for me to write
Hmm.
because it is. It's the darkest story. It is the most, one of the organizations that I love that advocate for this history and for the victims, for the halmani. The Korean victims are called halmani because the halmani means grandmother, which is the
Hmm.
term that they would be addressed with if they had led normal lives and married and had children and grandchildren. So I think it is very fitting that that's what they should be called. But one of the organizations, CARE, which is Comfort Women Action for Redress and Education, um, have said at one point that the history of the victims, it's the darkest, one of the darkest histories of World War II, and yet it's the least known.
I was
And
gonna say that.
mhm,
Hmm.
and I think for me, Sonya's story had to be part of the. I like to think of it as the tension and the mystery that's pulling the reader through the novel. Um,
Yeah, because the
and
novel explores silence
mhm,
so well, right? So like
yeah.
what's spoken, what's unspoken across generations.
Yes, and I kind of, based the silence and the shame of the um, the victims and around what I had heard and what I had read about in research,
Hmm.
and directly talk to the victims. Some of them were so ashamed they did not come back to Korea until the House of Sharing, which is a museum and also a nursing home for these victims, reached out and said, you can live here. They had lived for decades in China, in the Philippines, in other parts of the Pacific where they had been abandoned when the war ended
Hmm.
because they were so ashamed. And I kind of tapped into the shame that my own mother felt. My mother got divorced after she left Korea and was living in the US. And my father was kind of a narcissist and cheated on her, which is kind of like Kongju's character is based on my mother,
Hmm.
except my mother was not funny. I
Yeah.
loved her, was not funny. And Kongju, I think, I love Kongju. She's one of my favorite characters because she is so darkly funny. Um, but my mother could not tell her family that she was divorced.
Mm.
This was just
Yeah.
divorce. I couldn't imagine if she
Right.
had had a sibling who was a victim of sexual
Hmm.
slavery. Like, what would that have been treated like? So I let my imagination kind of, you know, tell that story of shame, but it is totally based on my own family, my mother's shame. She kept this a secret, her divorce. All her family knew, by the way, because my father had told them,
Yes.
but they pretended they didn't
Didn't
know.
know. And
And
so
my
something of this magnitude probably would be like something that they would not speak about.
yes, and that's why the family kind of erases Sanya in the story.
Hmm.
This is how I imagined would happen because so
Right.
much of from my research and my interviews of the victims is what happened to their families.
And so in interviewing the victims and shaping the narrative of the characters, what was their response to you sharing and telling the story? I'm always interested about the victims and families,
Mhm.
left behind. What do they think about people telling the story?
Well, the victims that I was able to speak to had come forward,
Hmm.
so they were very happy that I was going to tell this story. Um, I was always really apologetic because I'm like, it's not the main story of my
Right.
novel. I have to
Yeah.
keep
There's
apologizing.
another arc. There's another moral arc of the story. Correct. That's not the main story.
Yes, so I kept saying, it's not the main story. Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, but I, it's an important,
Hmm.
narrative thread of my novel, and I wanted to get all of this I wanted to get the history right because I felt
Yes.
like the victim had already been brutalized by the Japanese soldiers, had been brutalized by their own country,
Hmm.
shame that they carried, and the attention that they still have not gotten, and the justice they have not gotten. And I think that's what's still upsetting to me, that they have not gotten the justice that they deserve.
So the settings,
Mhm.
you're very descriptive, very vivid and alive. How did you use place to shape, the most emotional and historical atmosphere in the novel?
Yeah, I mean, thank you so
Hmm.
much for
Yeah.
picking up on that in my novel. I worked really hard
Hmm.
on using place as a character. I think
Uh-huh.
place setting should also be a
Yes.
character. And again, back to the reason why Angelina's story is centered in 2006 is because I was in Korea for months
Hmm.
during that period. And so I could describe what it was like to be there.
Yeah.
Um, and I wanted to put those kinds of details. But for the details for the 1940s, I watched a lot of old movies. I
Hmm.
looked at a lot of pictures from that time period, Korea during the occupation, and to try to describe that place and try to imagine what that was like. That's when I discovered I really loved writing historical fiction. I love
Yeah,
trying
I
to,
was gonna say like, yeah, I was gonna ask you that.
yes, trying to, place myself like in
Hmm.
that time period. And what was it like walking down a street? What was it like to be in a traditional hanok? I actually, my last, no, it wasn't in 2021. My last research trip was 2023, but in 2021, I rented a hanok, a traditional Korean house,
Hmm.
to try to figure out like what is it like to live in this kind of house, because
Hmm.
Sanya, the character, lives in a hanok.
Yes.
So yeah, I did a lot of research. Now that you mention it, Jamise, I did a lot of
Yes.
research.
And so I think when you were talking about like memoir relies on emotional truth and memory, of course, and fiction allows for invention as well, right? But I think the one thing about historical fiction, like you said, place is definitely a character. And especially if places that where you don't occupy that certain time, right? You have to bring it to the reader so the reader can actually visualize it and feel like they're there. And I think that you did that really well in this novel.
Oh, thank you. You're being so kind to me. You're
I'm supposed
crying.
to be, this is a book club meeting. We're like talking about the book. We love the book. So tell me about the title. How did you come up with the title, and does it have a meaning? See,
Yeah.
one of the comments,
Uh-huh.
Jill, one of my favorite readers who's always here and
Oh,
talking to about the book, she said you can tell that you did a lot of research.
oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you, Jill. Thank you. Um, the title actually, it was first called The Light of Stone Angels.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wanted kind of this, it was such a, heavy story with Sonia and the victims of sexual slavery and
Mm-hmm.
that thread. And I really wanted a kind of more balanced novel.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, oh, I'm going to juxtapose light with stone, you know? So it was called The Light of Stone Angels, but my editor didn't really like it. She bought the novel, thank God. Rachel, thank you, Rachel. A shout out to Rachel Kelly. She bought it for Grand Central Publishing, and she said, oh, and by the way, I don't like the title. And we'll
Oh.
discuss that later. um, and then when we got to that point where we were talking about titles, she said, what do you think about In the Land of 10,000 Mountains? Because at one point there was a line in the novel about how Kongju thinks of Korea as the land of 10,000 mountains.
Mm-hmm.
10,000 is a really important number for Koreans. Actually the term manse man means 10,000, and manse is like wishing. It came from the people wishing the emperor 10,000 um, joys.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so manse, which now means hooray, or like let's go for victory, victory. Um, but that was the origin. And so my mother always talked about Korea as the land of 10,000 mountains. And I thought that's how I thought of Korea until I found out from my aunt that it was just my mother's poetic way of talking about it. She's like, my aunt, who I love, my mother's sister, said, we don't say that. I'm like, but my
Okay.
mother did. I grew up with that expression. What are you talking about? She's like, Koreans call it, our land has many mountains, but not 10,000. Was very hilarious because I did love, the title In the Land of 10,000 Mountains. And then I had to say, oh, sorry, Rachel. Actually, it's just something my
Thing
mother
that your
said.
mom made up.
And then she's like, oh, well, the sales and marketing team feels that the title was too long anyway, In the Land of 10,000 Mountains. So
Mm-hmm.
why don't we just, go back? Why don't we just call it Stone Angels? And I was like, we can't go back to the light of Stone Angels?
She's like, no, just stone angels.
She's like, no. I was like, okay, I can live with that. So that's how the title came about. And I feel like the Stone Angels, which is honestly a dream that my mother had.
Mm.
I mean, um, my older sisters, just like in the novel, were Jewel and Pearl. So I should have been Ruby or Sapphire, but she had a
Mm-hmm.
dream when she was pregnant with me about the Stone Angels, like exactly the dream that I describe. And so my name
Mm-hmm.
in Korean means angel.
Oh,
So again, stole from the superficial details that
yes.
um, so Stone Angels really had meaning for me personally, but also for the victims of sexual slavery. There's a statue of peace. It's a statue of a girl in a hanbok that has been put in different places as a memorial to the victims and to kind of, a young girl kind of rebuking the Japanese government
Hmm.
for the official governmental apology that they should issue for the war crimes they committed. Um, and she's made of brass, not stone, but I like to say that she's resolute as stone. So
Hmm.
it has multiple meanings for me, the title.
And so, do you think that now that it's, people are, it's been exposed, or it's, they don't talk about it probably enough, but do you think there's more conversation? Even though this is not the only part of the story, I want you to touch a little bit about on the other part of the story, if you can, without giving it away. But do you think
Mhm.
that people are discussing it more, or is it still the shame from it and they're not talking about it?
Actually, I think that what the problem is, so the US government, after they took over for the Japanese colonial government in Korea, made a deal with the Japanese, and specifically with Emperor Hirohito, that he could not be convicted or accused of any war crimes until after he died. Like none of that history could be discussed. He didn't die until 1989. So the
Mm-hmm.
first Korean victim didn't come forward until 1991. And she was the first victim of sexual slavery across the Pacific that came forward. And then there was conversation.
I got
Um,
you.
and then it dropped off because the Japanese backpedaled on their apologies, and they have just been waiting for a biological solution to the problem, meaning they're waiting for these Hamani to die
Got
and these victims. Apparently in China they're called amas. I think Singapore and Indonesia, they all have different names, but these were the survivors of the sexual slavery. And honestly, there is less attention now. I
it.
think people are saying, oh, we've heard it, especially in Asia. Oh, we've heard it, they just need to get over it. Japan apologized. That's not true. The
Yes,
Japanese prime ministers have apologized, as individuals, and they've been very clear that they're apologizing just as
individuals.
individuals.
Yeah.
And as individuals, they should be very sorry about this, sex trafficking and abuse of girls, but they have not apologized as a government. And that's all what the Hanmani want. They just want a governmental apology and an offer of reparations.
Hmm.
They've told, we're old women. We can't spend the money. We don't want the money. We just want them to offer reparations
To
because that's
acknowledge,
what
right?
that has
Yeah.
committed war crimes does. Anyway, very simple, but it has become so confused, and the history deniers have made this issue so complicated when it shouldn't be.
Well, history deniers, I mean, that's a different story for a different day as well. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, let's talk about food in this stuff, because
Yes.
on the green tea show, I love green tea. I mean, so let's talk about what you did with food in this story.
Yes. I love food myself.
Yes.
One of the things that was so fun for me is that Grand Central Publishing picked my book to be in Club Car, which is the book club
Hmm.
of Grand Central Publishing. And so I got to do a book club kit, and I did a recipe, my son's favorite tofu, because I
Hmm.
love tofu. As a matter of fact, in the book, Kongju
Yes.
loves tofu and cooks tofu.
Hmm.
And all those, the recipes, I mean, the dishes I mention in the novel, I cook
Oh,
myself. I love them. I
cool.
love tofu. It's like my favorite food.
Okay.
I know people are like, what? Tofu is so bland. That's not true. It takes
Yes.
on the flavor of whatever you put it in. It can be grilled, stir fried. Oh my God, put in stews. I eat it actually raw. I mean, like I love it. You can do so much with tofu.
Lim said it's his favorite tofu dish too.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
Leah. Yes. Actually, so yes. So if you go on the Ashed website for Ashed Book Group and you see my book, you can look at the resources, and part of the book club kit. The recipe will come up, and you can make the tofu yourself.
so, so Jill said also she loved the
Mhm.
resources that you put in the back of the book, the movies, the books,
Mhm.
publication articles, documentaries. Very, very resourceful. I mean, it's just so you could, but that's the thing. Historical fiction should make you want to find out more about the subject, the historical aspect of the book.
Yes.
It should make you want,
Yes.
yeah. And you've given us the roadmap here, which is very generous. Um, you do
Yes.
recall in Dolan's story, she talked about how she had on her website where you could go and find more information about the land, Happy Land. Um,
Yes.
yes.
I
So
I need to do that with my website, Jamise.
yes, put it on. Yes. Uh, so tell me, let's talk a little bit more. We're gonna let you go because it's a Saturday, but talk a little bit more about the other element, because this is not the only story in the book. It's not, it's not the main. It's a part of the story, brings it together. It's another thread. But talk about another aspect of the story without giving anything away, and what I mean, because there's, the fraught mother and daughter is always a theme.
Yes. Oh my God. I am obsessed with mother-daughter relationships, I've
Mm-hmm.
realized.
They're so
And
complex.
yes, there are a million different iterations. I mean, millions actually, for all the mother-daughter out
Yes.
there of um of that relationship. And mine was quite complex with my mother. Um, she died in 2018, and honestly, I feel like it gets harder every year. I had such a
Mm-hmm.
difficult this Mother's Day,
I'm sorry.
and thank you. And I thought it would be getting easier. I think she'd be really proud of my
Oh,
novel.
good.
She would not like my memoir because she was somebody who was like, we don't talk about, family
Yes.
outside of family.
Yeah.
So,
And
but I
that's
think,
most families, though. They don't want it. Yes.
yeah, but this was coming from the woman who couldn't talk about her divorce for
Right. So,
decades.
of course,
Anyway,
she would not want you to write a memoir. No, absolutely
yeah,
not.
but I think she would be proud that I wrote this because it is. I mean, there is the relationship between Charang, the grandmother, and
Mm-hmm.
her daughter, Tanya and Kongju. And then there's the relationship between Kongju and Angelina. And then there's the relationship between Angelina and Emma, her daughter,
Yes.
who is named Emma from the eponymous novel by Jane Austen, because
Jane
this is how
Austen.
much I
Yes.
love Austen. I just
Right. You have a quote from Jane Austen in the front of the book. So, yes.
Yes, and I really leaned into that hope and second chances because Persuasion is a novel about second chances,
Mm-hmm.
about second love, but
Yes.
also second chances, just like so many of the characters are getting second chances in that novel. And
Mm-hmm.
I wanted that theme in Stone Angels.
Yes.
Second chances are so important for me, especially after my divorce. I feel like I'm getting a second chance.
Right.
Um, so part of me, basing Angelina on Anne Elliot was to bring in that love story element.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why there is that romance aspect with Lars and with Casquet in the novel.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was so excited that I was going to bring in this, love story element. And then I realized I had no idea how to write a love story.
Ah.
I mean, I'd read a ton of Harlequin romances when I
Yes.
was a teenager, like, and Barbara Cartland, Regency romances, like, The Elusive Earl, the the Ruthless Rake. I mean, really, I love them, but I was like,
No.
oh, uh, I
So,
don't
how do
think
you
that's
solve
going to
that
be very
problem?
helpful.
Yeah. How do you
I
solve that problem?
I was like, well, I have to go back to the OG, Jane Austen, and
Mm-hmm.
so I reread all of her novels yet again,
Mm.
and I was like, ah, this is, how I should do it. But then I was like, well, I need sort of a more updated modern version of romances. So then I watched a lot of Korean dramas.
Oh, yeah.
I watched a ton of romantic Korean dramas to try to, and I actually use one of the lines from many of the Korean dramas at the time I was watching, which was like the male protagonist is trying to, win back the female protagonist and says, you know, it was all my fault. Just give me one more chance,
Yes.
please, just this once. And it's something that Korean, drama, the hot Korean male leads always say to the female Korean lead, some version of it,
Right.
And I was like, oh, I want to use that. And so I put that in my novel too. I had a lot of
Um,
fun with the romance.
yes. So, my next question. Do you see yourself continuing on with historical fiction, or are there other genres that you want to explore next?
I think I'm really obsessed with the story of women.
Mm.
Um, I think the hidden lives of women
Mm-hmm.
are so interesting to me. So I am totally leaning into historical fiction with my next
Yeah.
novel. I'm actually at work on a third book, which is a
Okay.
novel, historical novel set during the Imjin War. Now, the Imjin War was 1592 to 1598.
Okay.
This, so I'm going really way back, and I wanted to tell the story. So last July, after I was finished with copy editing and proofreading of Stone Angels, I thought I'd go back to a novel I'd been working on, which was more
Mm-hmm.
contemporary. And then instead I was so depressed. I don't know why, because when I had finished American Soul, that same like time period, I was so happy. And
Mm-hmm.
instead I was so depressed and I could not write the novel that I was working on. And I started watching a lot of movies. And at that time, the third in a trilogy of movies that a Korean director had made about Lee Sun-shin, who's the most famous Korean in Korean history. He was an admiral who almost single-handedly won the Imjin War
Mm-hmm.
against Toyotomi Hideyoshi and his samurai in 1592 to 1598, that time period. And so I watched the last of that trilogy and I thought, okay, I want to find out more about this war because what about the women? And I
Yes.
started reading all these books and there's nothing. There is like one line about this Kiseng, who's a courtesan, they're like the equivalent of a Korean geisha, who apparently, held on to one of the Japanese samurai and jumped off a cliff. That was like one line about a woman in like many, many books and historical accounts of this war. And I thought, no, 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 no. This, so the Indian War was the largest global conflict in the 16th century. It involved 500,000 combatants and almost 2 million casualties. And yet, no one in the West has even heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
And, it involved the most famous Korean in history, Lee Sun-shin, this admiral who even Western naval scholars put on par with Horatio Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, I'm really interested in hidden history, but let's talk about the women. And I couldn't find anything. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to write about it. I'm going to, because these women existed.
Yes.
And I'm not going to,
There has to be women. There
yes,
has to be women.
half the population in the peninsula were women. So
Yeah.
I decided to write about the fictional third wife of Lee Sun-shin. I'm calling my novel The Admiral's Third Wife.
The Admiral's Third Wife.
Mm-hmm.
We
So,
will be looking out for that. I can't thank you. Other than okay, you're writing, but what have you read that you've loved lately, or what are you reading now?
oh, thank you for asking that question. Actually, I'm reading a lot of poetry because
Mm-hmm.
that's what I tend to read when I'm writing.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
yes, Find Me as the Creature I Am by Emily Jungmin Yoon. Um, I, I loved her poetry, poetry book. See, I can't even talk.
Yeah.
a cruelty special to our species was a collection of poetry that she had written about the victims of sexual slavery that I list in my resources.
Mhm.
It's the only fiction poetry book that I recommend. So I'm totally enjoying her new poetry book. I'm reading Joan Kwan Glass's new collection called Daughter of Three Gone Kingdoms. I loved Night Swim. I'm rereading Incendiary Art by Patricia Smith. I love her.
Do I have? I think I have that on
Yeah,
my shelf. Yep. Hmm.
Incendiary. Oh, yeah. Don't you love it? I
I haven't.
love.
I haven't read it.
Oh, oh, you have
I haven't
to.
read it.
I just
Haven't read it.
um I'm reading Rachel Galvin, Uterotopia, which is a hilarious collection of poetry. I didn't think poetry could be funny.
Uh-huh.
It's very, from its title, you can tell that it's centered very much on women, Uterotopia. I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah, so I'm also rereading The Calligrapher's Daughter by Eugenia Kim because it's set in a historical period in Korea, not in the 1500s, but just how does she describe those historical details? So yeah, just I'm borrowing. No, I'm actually just flat out stealing from good writers. Yeah.
Well, I can't thank you enough. I'm so glad this book came across my timeline,
Thank
and
you.
that it was a part of our Diverse Spines 2025 selection. And I look forward to seeing what you write next and talking to you hopefully in the near future. And thank you for this being your first IG Live. You did fantastic.
Oh, you're being so kind to me, Jamise.
You
I
did good.
so
You did
appreciate your
fine.
really, and thank you. I'm so honored to
Thank
have been
you.
picked as a diverse spine. I think
Yes.
you're doing such wonderful work
Thank
with
you.
diverse. I think it's so necessary to bring, voices of writers of color to the forefront. So thank you for being such a good literary citizen. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye
Bye.
bye.